We are taking a look at the very young Jacksonville Jaguars today. I'm Jason Gilbo here at Fantasy Football Cafe, taking a look at the Jacksonville Jags. TJ Yeldon, Blake Bortles, Allen Robinson, newcomer Julius Thomas. Um, Real young team, probably a year or two away at the most, maybe even three for some of these guys to push some real fantasy value. But you gotta like a few guys here, and I think a couple will be overlooked for the average fantasy player. They think Jacksonville Jaguars, they've been awful. I'm just going to gloss them over, but there are a couple guys worth mentioning here. But like I said, probably a year or two away from anything substantial. There's no doubt that the Jags were awful on offense last season as well as defense, ranked 31st in yards per play and ranked 27th in total offensive plays. Just a bad offense. The passing game features a second-year quarterback, Blake Bortles. Really shouldn't be on anyone's radar anyway. But a few guys that he's throwing to should be. Their line was just a train wreck last season. They allowed the most sacks in the league, and no team was even close. They did sign Jeremy Parnell from the Cowboys and drafted a lineman in the second round, so that's a nice step in the right direction for fixing that issue there. That should help out Bortles at some point during the season. Shouldn't be as bad as last year, so give him some time to throw, and that'll be a lot of help. And that means more value for his wideouts. Allen Robinson is my big ticket guy from Jacksonville if I'm taking anyone. Went down with a broken foot last season in Week 10, but he was on pace for 80 plus receptions, 900 plus yards, and 4 plus scores. Robinson barely turned 22, very talented wide receiver out of Penn State. I think he's got all the tools to be a top wideout in the NFL. Granted, he has a good system and someone throwing to him. Going to be the number one option for Bortles, and I think Robinson can go up against, compete with corners, dangerous in the open field as well as screen passes, kind of just a complete wide receiver. Plenty of upside really for Robinson there, staying healthy and being back and being 100% here in camp. So good news for him. Allen Hurns, Marquise Lee both fall into a similar category as a style of wide receiver. Both smaller, competing for that Z role, but likely will line up, all three there. Hearns showed some worth last season, taking advantage of the injuries there. It's a nice waiver wire ad late in the season. With all three healthy, it's going to be I don't think there's going to be enough to go around, but keep an eye on the secondary targets there outside of Robinson, because Julius Thomas is in town. Guy I just downgraded just a whole ton. There's guys behind him I would much rather have. He was a touchdown machine in the red zone under Manning. That's just not going to be the case with Jacksonville. Took that money, headed to Florida, and he doesn't care about our fantasy world. So I'd rather have guys like Larry O'Donnell, Larry Donnell, Kyle Rudolph, Tyler Eifert, Zach Ertz, all sitting around the same area below him. I think they're on par for similar or better seasons. So I'd rather take those options there. Looking at the running game, here we go again. Bama churned out another running back. TJ Yeldon. Yeldon's another dream back. Jump into the league and make a difference right away talent-wise. He's going to need to see the ball a fair amount of times to make fantasy value, and I'm just not sure if the Jacksonville Jaguars can give it to him. He's a guy I would like to see hand the ball 20 to 25 times a game, but I just don't think they're there yet, and that's going to be an issue. Just because if he floats around the 4.0, 4.1, yards per carry there, if he doesn't get that touchdown, it's a really bad week. And Jacksonville Jaguars are making a step in the right direction, but the offense isn't going to be good enough to just produce a ton of touchdowns for these guys. Of course, he's going to come in. He's already ranked top 15 among running backs. Good sign from there. Could float around 900,000 yards. But I think you're going to see a lot of slow produced weeks where that touchdown's really going to make or break the bank for him. And I just don't want to sit through that and hope for it. So that's my issue with Yeldon, but overall, he's one of the guys who I think is going to be a year or two away. So overall, Jacksonville putting some fantasy value on the table a little bit this season. I like Robinson. Not really a fan of others just yet. You can throw Yeldon in the mix as well, just because of how shallow running backs are, as always. But a riskier option for RB2. But definitely I like him on the bench if you can afford him and get him in that role. But like I said, other than a player or two there with Robinson, Yeldon, probably a few years away, 2 or 3 years away from being anything real productive.